Rita, I'm gonna stay over here, I try to get him.
Okay. Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. And we have Reverend Bobby Johnston with us for the invocation. Thank you, sir, for being here. If everyone will rise, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you first of all for the Lord Jesus Christ, who died for our sins according to the Scriptures, was buried, and rose again. Because he's risen again, he now sits at the right hand of the Father, reigning as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So tonight, Lord, we want to acknowledge the crown rights of Jesus Christ in this place, in this county, in this state, this country, and this earth is all his. He is the King. We ask that you bless the events of tonight, bless their agenda. I pray that you will guide in every decision that takes place as this county has entrusted these men and ladies as stewards of our county. I pray they be faithful to that and that they would be faithful in their area of service. We pray for our community, our county, our residents, our churches, and all the work that takes place here, that it would honor and glorify Jesus Christ. We ask all of this in his mighty name, of King Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And clerk will call the roll.
Andy Garner.
Here.
Joey Cobb. Rita Hoskins.
Here.
John Foster.
Here.
Lance Pinder. Tom Lewis.
Here.
Mark Mountain. Derek Ross.
Here.
Jim Shepherd.
Here, Madam Clerk.
Okay, item number 4. Do I have a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes? Motion by Tom. Second? Don? Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. And I had emailed our county clerk regarding this. We received an email on the minutes to be approved. And the minutes that were emailed to us, there was some garbled information, if you will. And the clerk said that those were the highway minutes or the highway information, and to check the packet to be able to see that. What I'm concerned about is when you go out to our website and look at the January minutes have the same, no, December minutes, I guess. The December minutes have the same problem. Possibly we're doing a scan to PDF or something like that. And so when minutes or the information from highways being entered in through that scanner, I think it's possibly having an issue. My point is that the minutes that I think we're approving that were emailed to us are not very legible. And so if those are what are going to be posted to the public, I have a problem with that. So if there's another set of minutes that are going to be posted, I'd like to see those. Otherwise, I would be voting no.
So I can respond to that. Derek, you asked me if there was something that you could review. So that's when I said to you, absolutely, it's what was in the door packet. So I wasn't aware that there was any type of issue. So we will go back in and we will look at that. I can tell you I did look through. The issue seems to be with some of the maps that come in incorrectly, but the packet is all included on what is there. So we'll go in and look at them, but as far as we're concerned, it won't change any of the material that's inside of this minutes. And the packets are being given to you guys before the meeting. That's why we reference you back to your packet, so you can maybe cross-reference and see if you caught anything that wasn't present.
if there is a problem, you'll work,
Yeah.
you can either fix it or you'll work with Michelle at Highway to, all right. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Motion carries. Okay, item 5, we have the presentation of the 22 financial audit, which we just received last week, and then discussion and potential action on that. Walker has been kind enough to work with the auditors to arrange their participation via Zoom. So if we can just take a minute to get that set up.
He's not in the waiting room. I'm trying to find out where he is. So if you want to move on to something else, that'd be great. Maybe the creative thing.
Okay. Or Judge Pratt, if you're, I think you wanted to address the group, and
Absolutely. If you,
now might be a good time.
okay, I'll do that. Take a place you want me to stand, or just grab a microphone so everyone can hear you. Okay.
You're welcome to pull up a chair to one of the tables if you want to.
Here. All right. My name is Christopher Pratt. I'm one of the judges here in the 8th Circuit. I work primarily in Adams County, but I do work in all of the 8 counties of the circuit. Goes from Adams County over to Menard County. I'll actually be here tomorrow morning covering for Judge McCartney as he's at a conference up in Chicago. I was in Brown County earlier today covering for Judge Hooker while he's at the same conference. I have been a judge for almost 2 years now. I was a public defender in Adams County for 8 years before that, where during that time I handled more criminal cases than any other attorney in the 8th Circuit. So I worked my way through about 2,000 criminal cases during the 8 years I was a public defender. And before that, I was in private practice. I worked for a law firm in Quincy, did a little bit of everything. In fact, what I did in private practice was basically everything except for family law and criminal law. I did the criminal law as a public defender, and then when I was appointed judge, they put me on the family law docket. So that's what I do now. I do divorces, child custody, child support, so no one is ever happy to come see me in court now. But I've been doing that for 2 years. I have had the opportunity to work in a lot of the other counties. I think in May of last year, actually presided over 2 jury trials here in Pike County. One of them was a burglary, the other was a speeding ticket, but that's the system we have. That gentleman had every right to insist on his day in court, which is something that I used to have to deal with as a public defender, where people insisted on their day in court. And that's important, that people be able to enforce their rights. That's one of the things that I tried to do as a public defender. As for right now, hopefully you have seen my signs out. I am up for election to the position where I've been appointed. The way that it works, because I'm a circuit judge, you have to be elected by a popular vote, but if you are appointed to fill a vacancy, which I was, then you have to be elected after that appointment. So I'm on the March 17th primary docket. I'm running as a Republican, and that will be a determination of whether or not I get to stay on the bench and continue to be a judge. If anybody has any questions for me, I'd certainly be willing to answer them. I do have some pamphlets I can leave for anybody that wants to know a little more information. I know it's not much, just a few minutes to be able to speak. I appreciate your time, but I think it's important for people in the community to know their judges and know the people that are making these decisions. And one of the things that I like to focus on when I talk, and I feel like I have on my back to almost everybody. I know I'm presenting to the board, but I do family court, right? And I was a public defender for 8 years, so I worked almost exclusively in criminal court. But when people think about our court system, what almost everyone thinks about is criminal court. People being arrested, people being convicted, people going to prison. Well, I'll tell you, in Adams County alone, we have 7 judges that work there primarily, almost every day. One of them travels back and forth. But of the 7 judges that work in Adams County, 3 work on criminal cases. The other 4 of us all work on civil matters. So I almost never touch criminal court in what I do. The job of the judges is so much more than just criminal court. And that's where I believe that my background in civil, where I did eviction law, where I did real estate, both commercial and residential real estate, where I did estate planning, estate administration, where I did business contracts, where I did business entity formations, LLCs, corporations, sole proprietorships, where I did civil litigation, small claims litigation, where I did healthcare claims and healthcare compliance, HIPAA, all of those things. So when you have local hospitals, local clinics that need to comply with that was work I did. When you have people that have companies, not just small companies, but large companies, Knapheide out of Quincy, Gardner Denver out of Quincy, Titan Wheel out of Quincy, those were all companies that I did work with on a variety of legal issues, none of which touched on criminal law. Again, as I said, I covered Brown County yesterday, or today. I'll cover Pike County tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm covering another judge in Adams County. I'm covering another judge for the rest of the county. I've done small claims dockets. I've done probate dockets. I've done the eviction docket. I do family law, where I handle on Thursdays somewhere between 50 and 90 cases every day. That's, well, every Thursday on my dockets. Otherwise, I'm doing hearings on those cases. It's so much more than just criminal law. Criminal law is important, and it's probably the main thing that touches on our safety, but there's so much more to our court system than just the criminal courts. I think it's important to people to be aware of that and realize that. So, any questions? Can I ask the public if they have any questions or no? Anybody out here have any questions for me? Well, I do, like I said, I do have some pamphlets here. I can leave them over here by the agendas. If anybody has interest in knowing a little bit more about me, a little bit more about my background. I'm born and raised in Quincy, lived there my whole life, raised 2 daughters there, have a grandson now who is the cutest baby you've ever seen. I'm happy to show you thousands of pictures if you'd like, and videos. But I grew up there. My wife's a nurse. She works at Quincy Medical Group. She worked at the old Veterans Home. She works at the hospital. If anybody ever made it over to Quincy, they used to work in a restaurant called Elders for about 15 years. I left a little bit before they closed. I do know some of the recipes, so that I feel like in some ways, working in the service industry, the restaurant, everybody else has done that, gives you a different perspective. And that was one of the things I took to the practice of law. That's still the service industry. You still have customers you have to keep happy. In a lot of ways, as a judge, that's where we're going to start. Figure it out. And that's the perspective I try to bring with people to manage. Try to make sure that everybody feels heard, especially in family. So what do we? Right? Somebody's going to go home. A lot of times, almost everybody goes home unhappy. But my goal is to make sure everybody feels heard, and that they understand where I'm coming from, my issue, my ruling, and I'm not just going after this decision. I appreciate everyone's time. Since you let me go a little early, I think I'm gonna make the drive back, because I have to be back here in the morning. And see if we can don't be late. That's one of the things I used to tell my students, because I taught at Quincy University law classes for a long time. Long before I was a judge, I used to say, of course, when the judge gets there. So now I get to enjoy that. But I will be time. But thank you all for your time. Good luck. I hope everything goes well. I understand the audit is something. So good luck, everyone. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, that's where we are.
Just need to start one? Like, are they trying to get on our link?
Oh, they're on it. They're in the waiting room.
Sorry, folks, just give us a moment while we deal with the
Yeah,
technology.
I think, what was the number she put?
Walker, could I go ahead with?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Tom, I realize this is really skipping around, but since we have a guest here who may have input on this ordinance, would you want to go ahead and do the public safety minutes and?
If we want to do the whole minutes, you just want to do the ordinance for now.
Whatever you feels best.
It makes no difference to me, and we can do both, or one or the other.
I just need to find where that.
Let's just do the ordinance then. And sir, if you want to come up, if you have any words to say on it, feel free.
Everybody should have a copy of the ordinance that was presented to the Public Safety Committee last Wednesday by Mr. Filbert, and Chuck Reed was also there. This ordinance basically is what it's going to do is prevent the sale of kratom, Pennaput, and 7-OH products. You won't be able to purchase it in the county, you won't be able to possess it, and there will be fines and if you're caught with it. Also, there was any business that's entered into this is a violation, which there is also fines on this. These three products act as opioids.
Yes,
As I'm correct, right?
yes.
This is something that was tried to be brought in down in New Canyon. They got on it pretty quick, got their ordinances and everything in line so that it could not be sold in their gas station down there. What we're asking is, from the Public Safety Committee side of it, is to adopt this ordinance in our county. Chuck, do you have anything else that you'd like to say about it?
Yeah, it's basically a synthetic opioid, and we have enough problems with substance abuse in the county. So stuff that is making more addicts potentially on a daily basis that don't, nobody explains to these people what it does to them and how, it's terrible. It's really, really bad. And it's gonna, if it takes root, it can be really, really bad. If that makes sense. It's just, that's something we don't need. To be honest, it's a really bad thing. There's a lot of counties in the state that are banning it as well.
And sir, did you state your name and?
Chuck Reed, I'm the founder of Chainbreakers Recovery Group here in town. So this is like right up my alley.
And Mr. Reed was with and our state's attorney, Walker Filbert, discussed this at the Public Safety Committee meeting, which Tom chairs. Let me just read the, what the committee is proposing is an ordinance, and just to make sure we're on the record, and I am jumping around on the agenda, so if anyone's following it, this is number 7E1. But it would be, the motion would be to approve an ordinance relating to the state, to the sale and possession of kratom, phenibut, and 7-hydroxymitrag.
You can listen.
Mitragynine, if that's close, 7-OH for abbreviation products. So do we have someone to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Tom, Andy second? Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries, ordinance is approved. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Hey, Madam Chair, I think we're ready for Mr. Porter, if you want.
Okay, then we are back on item 5, presentation, discussion, and action on 2022 financial audit. Brad, are you there?
I sure am. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Hold on, let me make sure this is up as far as it can go.
I can talk as loud as you need me to, so.
Okay, how's that, everybody?
Good here.
Okay, take it away.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Porter, and I am here on behalf of Lauterbach and Amon as the principal overseeing the county's financial statement audit process. I will be providing a brief recap of the documents that we have issued at the conclusion of our fiscal year 2022 audit. I'd like to start by thanking the board for the opportunity to attend virtually here tonight. Sorry for the technical difficulties. And before I go any further, I'd like to give a special thank you to the county staff that have been instrumental in this audit engagement. It truly takes an army to get through an audit process, and we have been very appreciative and supportive of all the extra efforts of your team above and beyond the scope of their normal job duties. It's no secret that the county has a long road ahead to be back on track with timely audit filings, but we have been excited to see some of the strides that the county has been taking in the short relationship that we have had already. And our team at Lauterbach and Amon is doing everything that we can to help make that process as seamless as possible. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Anna Cadmus and her team over at Sikich. Admittedly, they have done a phenomenal job with their audit preparation process, and we are very grateful to have them as a partner in this equation. For those of you who may not know, Sikich completes all necessary journal entries to the county's ledger as it relates to audit preparation, modified accrual entries done under the basis of accrual basis of accounting, and they assist with ensuring that the balances are audit ready. Now, there are 3 pieces of required communication that we have issued at the conclusion of our fiscal year 2022 audit process, and I apologize, but due to the timing of the finalization late last week, it didn't sound as though the paper copies made it here tonight, but I do know that in discussion with Rita, it sounds like the electronic digital copies were distributed to everybody. So I will do my best to keep things short and sweet tonight. Certainly any follow-up questions can be answered at following the conclusion of my presentation, or any follow-up emails as well. I'll start with what we call our SAS 114 letter. In accordance with Statement on Auditing Standard number 114, we are required to state whether or not we had any disagreements or difficulties that we had encountered during our audit process. And I'm happy to report that in the body of that letter, you will find no such disagreements or difficulties that are noted. Now we will move into the annual financial report. Now, there are 130 pages to your annual audit, so my goal here is not to go page by page, but again, focus on some of the intangibles with the audit process, as I know a lot of this information is greatly outdated at this point, and you are receiving monthly treasurer's reporting from Scott. So we'll stick to primarily the intangibles with our audit process, beginning with page 1, ironically. On pages 1 through 3, you'll find what is known as our independent auditor's report. This report not only outlines the opinion that we've issued on the financial statements, but also the responsibilities of both management and us as auditors. Management is ultimately responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. Through the internal efforts of your team, as well as Sikich being hired by the board in an external capacity, we certainly felt the financial statements provided to us were indeed presented fairly, and that will be a common theme throughout my presentation here this evening. Now, to provide a little bit of additional clarity on what our responsibilities are as your auditors, it's important to first understand a few things. As auditors, our responsibility is to ensure that we're planning and performing an audit designed to detect material misstatement, whether it's due to error or fraud. That is not to say that certain matters that are immaterial in nature don't exist, or that an audit is designed to detect all errors, because it simply cannot under the scope of our engagement. It is worth pointing out that we do perform a number of internal control related walkthroughs of your financial functions, such as receipting, disbursements, financial reporting, etc. But our scope of our audit opinion is not on the internal control environment itself. It is purely on the financial statements as a whole. Any internal control related matters that we have identified have been disclosed in our management letter, which I will cover here briefly. And I wanted to just emphasize that we are focused again on reassurance at the materiality level. And I think it's very important for the board to understand that. I am happy to report that for the fiscal year ended November 30th, 2022, we have issued what is known as an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is the cleanest form of opinion that any entity in the government space can ultimately receive. Ultimately, an unmodified opinion states that as your auditors, we do believe the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. Now, I'd like to point out page 14. It wouldn't be an audit presentation without at least a little coverage of the numbers, right? On page 14, you will find your general fund income statement. And I wanted to specifically draw your attention to the third line up from the bottom, and that is what we call our net change in fund balance. For fiscal year 2022, the county had an increase in fund balance of $232,000 in your general fund, ending the year with about $821,000 in accumulated fund balance. That was a rather significant change, 39% increase. And I wanted to also point out and highlight that the county had just over 1.5 months of operating expenses in your general fund reserves as of the end of fiscal year 2022. Now, the county has nearly 50 accounting funds that are reported in your audit. So I just wanted to point out the financial information associated with your general fund. If you're interested in finding the financial schedules associated with your other funds that are reported in the audit, those would begin on page 67. I just wanted to draw that to the board's attention. Now, we will move into our management letter, which is the additional bound document that you will be receiving in paper format or have received in digital format here this evening. The primary purpose of our management letter is to convey best practices that we see in our industry, as well as to communicate any internal control related matters that warrant the board's attention. And lastly, any upcoming accounting pronouncements that could have an effect on county's financial reporting within your audit. We had only one current recommendation as a result of our fiscal year 2022 audit process, and that was due to two funds having deficit fund balances as of 11/30/2022. Those were the county health insurance and the CDBG grant fund. Both of which could have been specifically related to timing issues where expenditures were incurred, but maybe the offsetting revenues had been submitted for reimbursement or something along those lines. So nothing overly concerning with that situation. I know that there's a management response paragraph attached to each of those comments outlining that management is aware of this issue and that they will keep an eye on things with those funds in the future. In terms of our prior year recommendations, those would have been any comments issued in fiscal year 2021, which was our first audit ultimately with the county. I know that Jen Martinson, the partner on the county's engagement, had went through all 11 of those comments last year, and that was not that long ago. So I will save everybody the time here this evening, but I did just want to point out that we had 11 comments that were issued in fiscal year 2021. Some of those have since been addressed in fiscal year 2022, but a lot of them, unfortunately, just due to where we're at with this being 2026, some of those matters will not actively be addressed until we are current with some auditing. So I just wanted to let everybody know that there is a management response paragraph attached to each of those comments that will outline where things are at. That concludes my coverage of the audit here tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions, comments, or concerns.
Derek?
Yeah. Brad, can you hear me?
Faintly, yes.
The for the audit, we had discussed in the county clerk's budget where we were reclassifying salaries out of the election line into personnel. And my understanding was if we'd been made aware of that and we're aware that there's problems in other years, that maybe we should do an amendment, but I just wanted some direction from you on if that's the normal course of action, or should we wait until the audits come up per year, or how should we go about correcting things?
Yeah, that would undeniably be a best practice that I would recommend. So through our audit process, we are not necessarily getting hung up on budgetary concerns at the line item detail necessarily. We are more concerned when a fund exceeds the legal appropriation or the legal budgetary constraints of that fund. But I did agree with Anna's recommendation for the county to ultimately amend their budgets to ensure that expenditures related to personnel and benefits are recorded only within personnel and benefit related accounts. So I do feel that that's a valid recommendation. Not necessarily a legal requirement per se, but it would be consistent with best practices that we see in our industry.
Thank you.
Jim, did you have something?
Yeah, Brad, let's start off with the management letter.
Sure.
You allude at the end to upcoming GASB changes.
Yep.
Is there anything significant with those? I mean, GASB 102 kind of caught my eye. I know we don't have to implement till the 25 audit, but hey, is that going to be
Yes.
significantly more work? And what, in layman terms, what does that entail?
I think you have all of your ducks in a row with Anna and her team. The two standards that I am envisioning some pretty substantial work towards, only because I have lived this for multiple clients that are caught up on their engagements, would be GASB 87 for lease reporting and GASB 96 for software leases. I know that the county utilizes many leases, many softwares that are on a more of a leasey type agreement term. So we will be working with Sickich and with the county team to identify all long-term lease and software-related contracts to ultimately assist with the implementation process. But I have worked with the Sickich team on other engagements too. I know that they do a phenomenal job implementing any upcoming GASB standard for that. But those would be the only two big ones coming down the pipeline. I would say GASB 102, we actually haven't had any clients with anything that we felt met the risk-related disclosure requirement. So I'm hopeful that that would ultimately be the case for the county, but we will cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, I was thinking collective bargaining agreements kind of thing, but if that's not been a problem, that's great. Because
Yep.
every time they come out with these, I get scared.
You and me both, right?
Yeah. But no, you had a clean audit. We have basically the same things. We've corrected a couple of the 11 recommendations from last year, which is great. General fund was positive, so that's fine. We do have, I know Derek alluded to the situation within the county clerk's office. We have the same situation within the highway department that doesn't delineate some personnel line items, so we'll have to address that as well.
Absolutely.
No, other than that, I don't have a lot of significant right at the moment.
Excellent. Well, I know Rita, Derek, Scott all know how to get a hold of me, Natalie, so feel free to channel any additional follow-up questions through them, and we'll make sure we have those answered right away.
Brad, I just had one question, not so much on the audit itself, but you've been emailing about the comptroller's AFR. And I know Natalie this afternoon got you the census and the employee data that you needed. It sounded from the last email, though, that you still need something from us to go ahead and file that. Is there something else you're waiting on, or are we okay?
You're okay. I just need your final blessing that you agree with ultimately the contents within the comptroller report, that there was all the contacts were listed correctly, et cetera. So once I get your green light, we can go ahead and get it submitted tomorrow, and then the audit will be uploaded to the state comptroller.
I'm just a little anxious about that because the comptroller is saying if we don't have it in by the 26th, which is Thursday, they'll put us on the forced audit list. So
It's quite literally the click of a button on our end. So the whole report has been drafted. It's ready to go. We just need ultimately confirmation that you agree with the balances and the contents. So if anyone would like to reach out tomorrow, just given the green light, I can go ahead and make sure that it's submitted. The only other item I can think of that will be important to get the ball rolling on would be the consolidated year-end financial report through GATA, and making sure that we can get the audit uploaded through there as well. So I'm happy to work with Scott. I know I've worked with Scott in the past on that, to make sure that that is also uploaded timely.
So Scott and Natalie, you can get back to him tomorrow, maybe email or something?
Yeah, as soon as the audit's approved tonight, I will sign off on the letter that was sent to us in that email, that had all of the stats in it, and then I'll get that forwarded off.
Thanks, Natalie.
Okay, then do we have a motion to accept and approve the audit?
I'll make a motion.
Derek, motion, second by Tom. Any other discussion?
One more question, Brad.
Yeah.
Jim?
Timeframe when we see you again? Best guess.
Yeah, so I know, ultimately me and Anna met last week to discuss like a ideal timeline for her team to dig in and roll up their sleeves and get the ball rolling on fiscal year 23. If you think about it, their procedures are actually more intensive than the audit. They've got to look at every balance sheet account, make sure every reconciliation, all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted. So I think both of us were committed to ensuring that the 23 audit would be finalized by the end of 2026. But again, that would be contingent on just making sure that their team can get the 2023 audit preparation performed. So I don't want to speak for her.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think we're averaging about 2 audits a year, which is obviously double what we're accustomed to. So.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries, and the audit is good to go. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then the next item on the agenda, back to the order that was laid out, is item 6, the treasurer's report regarding the current financial status. Scott?
Okay, we kind of touched base on this at finance the other day. Let me get into my sheets. I want to go back through the revenue side of it. I know it was discussed at finance and we were right on target, but the only reason that we're right on target is the $750,000 that was pulled in from the CDs from the Farmer State Bank, from the Highway Department. That's the only reason that we're right on target. And every bit of that has been spent, with the exception of the $38,000 that's left after finance and building and grounds and payroll this time. So there's $38,000 left. There's not enough in the fund to cover the health insurance. But I went down through the listing, and if you go down and look at the revenue side of it, the county clerk's running about $7,000 under. The circuit clerk's running about $20,000 under. The other revenue is up. The personal property tax is on target. The sheriff's fees are right on target. The sales tax is up. The income tax is up. The revenue from services is down. And the emergency telephone, that's actually the half payment. So that helped with the current level that we have. And then if you get down and look at the animal control, the leash law, we have received nothing. Donations, we received nothing for the general fund. Animal adoptions, we've received nothing. And this is where all the salaries are being paid for animal control out of the general fund. So, and we're basically taking nothing in. You look at the video gaming, it's right on target. The fees of others is up just a little bit, and the cannabis is right on target. So as far as revenue, we're running pretty close on it. And I don't know what all you guys want to talk about on it, but that's the revenue side of it, so.
Scott, would you clarify when you say revenue is on target, but that's also because we have the 750 in CDs?
Yes.
That's not considered revenue, is it?
I wouldn't think so, but I mean, it's counted in your general fund as
So when you say we're on target, are you saying we're on target because we have enough cash or because we've actually received enough revenue to pay our bills?
We had enough cash.
Have enough cash, okay.
Yeah.
So
500,000 of that went to pay back the liability insurance, actually a little bit more than that, because the interest, well, I take it back, there was no interest paid on it because it was internal loan. So 500,000 of that went to pay back the liability insurance. The other 250, the last $250 CD I cashed in today, it went back into the county highway fund, hitting the interest both. For now,
so there are no more CDs.
no.
Okay. Thank you.
Any
The
questions?
fourth CD from Highway came due?
Yep, I cashed it in this morning.
Okay. And that's being deposited with Highway?
Yep. And they disperse it out of it, so they can
All right.
keep track of it. And I don't know what the board's intentions are as far as going ahead and using it or leaving it there for a little while, or I'll be honest with you, I'd like to use part of our loan at some point because I think it's a little unfair to the bank to take out those anticipation notes and not produce something for them.
Because they had to tie up
So
that
they have to,
amount
that
of money.
money's tied up for them,
Yeah.
so they can't use it for anything else.
Maybe that's something we can discuss in or finance at the next meeting.
Yeah, because we got through payroll this time, and there's enough for building and grounds and finance, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott before we move on? Okay, then going to committee reports. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Going to committee report, we have finance. Derek?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Finance Committee was called to order at 4 p.m. on February 18, 2026 at the Pike County Government Building. Committee members Don Foster, Derek Ross, and Lance Kendrick were present in person. Rita Hoskins, Natalie Roseberry, Scott Circle, Walker Filbert, and others were also present in person. Under the 2022 audit update and preliminary findings, it was stated that there was $336,647 less collected in tax revenue because of an error the levy presented by the county clerk's office. The property tax was to be calculated at 0.37, but was presented at 0.27. This resulted in only $805,193 being collected instead of the $1,141,840 budgeted and posted on the county's website. It was further pointed out that the following year's publicly posted budget did not account for the revenue shortfall, nor was a truth in taxation hearing held that year when the correction was made and the tax rate was raised back to 0.37. It was confirmed that the county clerk's budget was over by $153,129, and $38,995 of that was in the election line, which should have been in the personnel line. This was a 25% overrun in budgeted personnel expenses. Under 2025-26 budget discussion, it was confirmed in the fiscal year 2025 budget status report that the county has not accounted for $1,150,060.89 in revenue that was used to balance the fiscal year 2025 budget. It was further discussed that the personnel line in the county clerk's office for subsequent fiscal years after 2022 should be amended to reflect amounts paid to personnel from the election line. Derek said he would ask the auditors for guidance on how to handle that as we proceed forward with those year's audits. The 2026 budget amendment corrections were discussed regarding GIS-IT and highway budgets. No action was taken due to needing further clarification on the lines. Under the 2026 budget amendments were discussed regarding personnel expenses being in the corrected lines for the county clerk and highway budgets. Derek said he would ask auditors for guidance in handling those issues. Derek brought up the 2026 budgets do not include raises or bonus lines in it regarding personnel expenses. This is something that he believed was passed by statute in 2025 and needs to be corrected. Natalie said that once the 2026 budget is passed, the amount appropriated to the department is within the purview of the elected official on how they want to spend the money. The board has no oversight regarding line item spending. The county clerk said I could take $200,000 and spend it on 200,000 pencils if I wanted to, but I would have to answer to the taxpayers, on why I did that. Rita Hoskins asked why the board has to sign off on bills if they have no oversight. No clear answer was provided. Under financial policy updates, Derek Ross stated he continues to work on the financial policies, but situations continue to occur that require updates and changes to the language. A conversation occurred regarding policy regarding the county giving money to organization. This is an item to consider as the policies continue to be created. Under update CIC Paycom payroll, Derek Ross stated he and the treasurer's office have made great progress in the last couple of weeks regarding tracking Paycom and CIC. One of the major issues identified is confusion about accounts and funds, as well as what is being referred to when discussing balances. Under fund balances for expenses and payroll, sufficient funds to cover payroll and expenses. Scott Circle said there appears to be enough cash in the accounts to meet expense needs for the month of February. Under old business, there was none. Under new business, there was none. Under public comments, the public commented that it appears we raised taxes by $200,000 and then spent $200,000 more, not lowering the deficit. They are not happy. Under review and approval of monthly bills, Don Foster made a motion, seconded by Lance Kendrick, to pay bills totaling $144,171.54. The motion passed. Forgot to put that in. Lance Kendrick made a motion, Don Foster seconded, to adjourn. The motion passed, and the meeting adjourned at 5:57 p.m.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Don, second. Derek, second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a couple things.
Derek?
So I guess this has to do with a difference of priorities. I brought out, and the minutes have a lot of the spreadsheets that support the documentation regarding the shortage of revenue and a couple of other things. One of the big things in the 2022 audit that I noticed was that we were about $300,000 short of revenue because of the taxes. And I just kind of wanted to point out what I feel is some complications between getting information and trying to clarify what happened. So there was an email that followed up after the finance meeting that started with Mr. Filbert that came back and said that, the $300,000, even though it was thoroughly or fully discussed and disclosed over 3 years ago, is not an audit finding. So the key thing is that I think I used the term audit finding, which is a specific term that I found something in the audit, but that was not an audit finding. What I have a problem with is that we focus on the words audit finding and not focus on the $300,000 that we didn't collect and that we didn't have the budget with. And the budget that was reflected in that year and subsequent years never corrected that we collected only $800,000 in funds instead of 1.1 million. So then moving on to the 2025 budget, I concluded that we were really, and I addressed this last year at a public statement, that, I felt that we weren't going to get about $1 million of revenue that was in the budget. Instead of, really working on that and figuring out what we were going to be short, I had to make a public apology because the word balanced isn't in the statute. We didn't address the money issue. We addressed the wording that I chose, and the word balance wasn't in the statute. So I adamantly admit that was a mistake that I made, and I apologize for it. But where I really have a problem with is that a few months ago in a finance meeting, I had made a motion to change back to CIC under new business. And I was called out by our county clerk, and I was called out by Mr. Shepherd that, that was a violation of OMA. It wasn't on the agenda. But then when I went back to the December meeting and looked at the minutes there, our board chairman was called out for a no confidence vote. And there was a motion and a second, but it wasn't on the agenda. And it seems like it's a violation of OMA. But nobody said anything about that. So I just feel that there seems to be some different rules for different people in what we're doing. But irregardless, I think we're making progress in the audit. I think we're making progress on the finances. And I am bound and determined to figure out where things are and do the best I can to get it corrected. But I do believe that it seems that some of us are under different rules than others. And I find that to be rather difficult sometimes. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Since he mentioned me in that statement, which is fine. So are you going to clarify your minutes then, under the 2 bullet points that those are not audit findings?
Well, I don't, let me double check that I don't believe I referred to them as audit findings.
Well, it says right there, under 2022 audit update and preliminary findings.
Under 2022,
I'm fine with the 2 bullet points, but that heading is misleading.
yeah,
There were no audit findings on those 2 points.
then, yeah, I would correct that, though it's not meant to be audit findings, audit and findings are in the same sentence, so if you would prefer, I can just audit update and cross out the preliminary findings.
Well, it really wasn't an audit update either. It had nothing to do with the audit report. It had to do with our financials that happened to be audited. There are financials, so it's, I mean, those 2 points, I have no trouble with both those bullet points. Those comments relate to our own financial statements that showed that, and it really had nothing to do with the audit.
Okay. Well, again, it was what information I found in the audit. So when I'm updating somebody of what I found in the audit and the preliminary findings in the audit, again, it's semantic of words and me trying to choose the right vernacular to explain what I had. So.
You want to call it our audited financial statements. That's different, but there are financial statements. In other words, the auditor didn't discover this.
Okay.
It's been sitting there all along.
Financial statements. Well, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I actually didn't finish my thought. When I was talking about the $300,000 being discussed and not, thoroughly discussed, and it wasn't an audit finding, it was in our financial statements. Ms. Hoskins actually asked in a follow-up email, where was that actually in writing or where was that discussed? And Mr. Filbert responded back that, well, I don't know. It was discussed at yesterday's meeting. He wasn't the state's attorney, which is fine. So when we ask a question, we get an answer, and then, try and get clarification on that answer. Then it's like, well, that's what I heard. Okay. And then we get a follow-up from that, where our county clerk says that the matter was discussed with the finance chair at the time, and the board chair was made aware of it. So then we went from everybody's discussed it, knew it, to where now it's just down to the finance chair and the board chair. Ms. Hoskins didn't remember it. I remember being at that meeting because I thought 2 or 3 gentlemen were sitting there talking about how the Pleasant Hill thing hadn't been taken care of because of a problem in the levee. But I didn't remember there being any discussion regarding the shortage of the 300,000. But it may have been discussed at a different time. I just couldn't find it anywhere in the minutes. But it kind of shows the example of where we might ask a question to get an answer, and then when we ask for more clarification, then it really comes down to maybe one or two people knew. I think most everybody probably knew, maybe not, I don't know. But yes, I will change, if you need to amend the minutes to say financial statement, I am more than happy to do that.
Well, I don't want to dwell in the past, but I would like a verbiage change. As far as the 300,000, levy presented by the county clerk, to be specific, the error was made in the extensions by the county clerk. The levy was presented to the county clerk as a .370. The employee entering the extensions entered it as .27. Which is minor, but it does explain how it happened.
And for transparency purposes, we elaborated on what occurred when it occurred, when we found out about it, and we had talked to the appropriate channels. So any illusion that this was not discussed is completely inaccurate. Because this was discussed, this is wide open, there was nothing behind closed doors, so I'm happy to talk about when we identified it, what plans we put in place. I included that in the email that I sent to you guys, that it's identified. We had the extension company on site, so how it got overlooked was a terrible thing. It's completely on me. And then we were lucky that year that we didn't have to do anything, and taxpayers got a break because we ended with an $800,000 surplus. So, it worked out. We were lucky that it worked out, and we now have systems in place to prevent that. We've spent a lot of effort on training. One board member even commented on the training bill 2 years ago that we had because of it. So, asked and answered and identified. It's something that happened, but it was by no means anything that was not discoverable. Anybody looking at their tax bill could have seen it, and your financial reports that you guys got as a board, it was there every month. So to say that it was anything less than transparent, I believe is a complete misstatement. But as a formality, I was at this finance meeting, and I do not believe that these minutes reflect the discussion. I would request that the audio recording be made part of the public record, so people can read the minutes and listen to the audio, and they can decide for themselves if there might be a few spins on some conversations.
Now, there was a bill from CIC approved through finance for $750 for training, and it was charged to the county board auditing line. Who was trained? Okay, apparently we've been involved in crickets.
I'm kind of curious, the same question, and when was the training done?
Before we keep going, I think I've heard of 2 corrections to the minutes. But
Oh, yeah.
I don't see you writing anything down. I see Derek write. Who's keeping track of what the corrections are? And then the request to make the audio public.
Yes, I have the request for the audio, and then the correction was the under 2022 county financials, but there was nothing formal.
I thought Jim wanted a change.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, yours was that the levy was presented as correct.
levy presented to extensions made, something along those lines.
Let me fix that.
But-
Where's the reread it to make sure it reflects what.
Okay. I just want to make sure someone's doing it. Then Derek or Don, or Scott or Natalie, do you know the CIC?
$1,750.
Yeah.
That is what CIC charged us for going back through and trying to figure out the payroll issue.
Okay, well, it's labeled
They
training.
worked
so
with
I didn't-
me and Derek and Liz and Anna.
So
And
what-
that's $750.
So it wasn't training?
Well, kind of was.
Kind of was.
Well, I mean,
Either it was
we're
training or it wasn't
learning.
training, or-
We're learning.
Or are you,
So
are
was,
they stringing it out the process?
so was training you and Derek?
Basically.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't remember the word training.
No, I don't remember training either, but
It's,
that's probably what's on the bill,
Virtual
but
Consulting.
yeah, virtual training / consulting, so I'm assuming there was.
the consulting part is the part that they charge for. They
Okay.
charge so much per hour after a certain point. I don't know how many hours that they put in and worked with Natalie on it, but not this time, but prior to this.
Well,
Yeah.
if it,
They haven't billed us for anything.
they didn't break it out per
No, they
hour
didn't bill you for it,
unless
but-
their training rate is $750 per hour, because it's one unit, 750, 750.
And if you look at this bill, I mean, when it says.
It was for 5
virtual-
hours.
When it says virtual training, I expect training, not just consulting. I mean, it's kind of a play on words, I guess, but still.
Do you want to get this figured out or do you not want to get it figured out?
Oh, I want to get it figured out.
Oh, I do too.
I want when we get a bill, I don't want it to say something that we're not getting. If we're getting consulting, we're getting consulting.
Okay.
But if we're getting training,
Scratch out the training part on it.
I just think that it's kind of when you're saying virtual training, that I expect that they're training you on how to do CIC. When they're saying consulting, I understand that they're consulting and helping you figure out things.
Do you want me to have them resubmit a bid for the other?
If there's
A bill for the
if-
other?
If there's two different ones, if there's one for training and one for consulting,
It's in our original contract that they can charge us for over and above. We've been lucky that they haven't charged us for anything up to now.
If this is connected with the one conference call that I sit in on, I think it's more consulting because CIC
Yeah.
had to work with Dawn and some others and Anna.
And I was gonna
at
say, so
Sickich.
that's related to the $2,200 bill from Sickich?
CIC and Anna at Sickich were working together to resolve some of the payroll issues.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know, because I didn't get an answer last month when I asked what was meant by the amendment to the Sickich contract. And then I get a $2,200 bill, so I didn't know if you guys had ever figured out what the amendment was or not. Okay.
Where'd you get?
I didn't know. there was a-
While you're up here, have we ever determined what the deficit / surplus was from the 2025 budget? I've never got a final report from CIC on that includes period 13. But the one that you sent December 15th showed that
You
we
got the
basically
one for your
were
6-month report here.
a part of, that I had $191,000 to the good, but I haven't seen anything that included period 13.
I can resend one.
Okay, you haven't
It's gonna
sent
be
one,
included
you haven't
here,
sent me one, so.
I thought I sent one out.
You sent one December 15th, but that wouldn't have included period 13. Because the period 13 bills have not been approved yet.
Right.
No.
We got that in January.
And it probably wasn't a period 13 one, was it?
No, everything since
Yeah.
that, the December 15th has been a 2026 report. So I'm just curious.
And I think there's other things as far as period 13 that went in there after the end of December. So I don't know at what point we cut off the period 13. Should be cut off December 30th. or
December
31st.
31st is the
should
statute.
be cut off, but-
Statutory cutoff for December, for period 13.
That was a question I asked last month.
Yes.
Where'd you get your $2,200?
That's a sickage bill.
Okay, where did you come up with that?
Well, I read it off a piece of paper.
Is that a current bill? I can
Yeah.
say I haven't seen it. I
Yeah.
don't see the sickage bill.
I asked for it.
It's presented to the clerk's office.
But it hasn't been presented.
No, I don't think it's run through finance yet because there's no line item number on it.
Okay,
I mean,
so the numbers I have in finance don't list that 2,200.
Yeah. So no, it has, like I say, I just asked for if there was anything from Sickich and that I don't
Okay,
necessarily,
I just wondered where you got it from.
the CIC one, I've got a line item number. That's why I knew it was going to county board auditing.
And I'm not aware of how much Anna's charged for any of it.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, it's not broken out either.
Is there anything else on the finance minutes? Then Don and Derek, are you okay with changing your motion to say as corrected?
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll include the video, or the audio, sorry. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Don, you'll read highway for Joey?
The Road and Bridge Committee met Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, at 1:30 PM at the Pike County Highway Department facility located at 39643 260th Avenue, Building 4, Pittsfield, Illinois, 62363. The meeting was called to order at 1:30 PM. Roll call consisted of President Joe Cobb, Don Foster, Andy Barrowman, absent Rita Hoskins, staff available, Chris Johnson, Gary Locks, Michelle McCartney, and John McAllister. Public comment, none. Payment of claims, the motion was made by Andy Barrowman, seconded by Don Foster, to pay claims per claim reports dated February 18th, 2026. All in favor, motion carried. Half aid to bridge closeouts, there was none. New business, County Highway 2 and County Highway 14 will be in the state letting at IDOT on February 27th, 2026, with construction scheduled for this summer. Old business, none. Adjournment, a motion was made by Andy Barman, seconded by Don Foster, to adjourn the meeting at 1:34 PM. All in favor, motion carried.
Motion to accept the highway minutes, Tom? Second? Derek?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Derek, GIS IT?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The GIS IT Committee was called to order at 4 PM on February 17, 2026 at the Pike County EOC Center. Members present were Derek Ross, Don Foster, Jim Shepard. Also present were Rita Hoskins, Brandy Wallace, Andy Brody, J.R. Bar-Eyes from Tiger Hawk, and Michael Burbridge. Under old business, J.R. Bar-Eyes reported a possible wiring issue at the ambulance department. Angie Brody has submitted a service ticket to address the matter. J.R. also explained the current backup and response imaging status. The county is a client, but not under a full service contract. The full service contract option references around $90,000 a year. Backup images are maintained to allow system recovery as quickly as possible with an anticipated restoration time frame of 24 to 48 hours. Brandy reported that the treasurer's office has installed a new printer and requires assistance configuring the scanned email function. JR confirmed this will be addressed in February. Nicole reported that emails for Cindy are missing. The issue is under investigation. Under new business, the development of the county clerk's website was discussed at length, along with the status of other county websites and a requirement that all sites be ADA compliant. A handout outlining compliance requirements was distributed and reviewed. Discussion focused on consolidating all county websites under a single unified county website. The committee agreed that maintaining one website would simplify ADA compliance efforts, reduce hosting and maintenance costs, and improve oversight and consistency. The committee requested that IT coordinators review the websites they currently manage and begin compiling a list of desired improvements. Derek Ross stated he would contact the county clerk to discuss coordinating with Vervocity, the vendor currently building the county clerk's website, to evaluate the feasibility of making that site the primary county website and consolidating the remaining county sites under it, which our county clerk actually reached out to me, so I appreciate that. Public comments, Michael Burbridge asked about the ambulance internet issues and what possible causes that could be. J.R. Barri said that there is a possibility the wires have been chewed on by mice as the building is close to fields. Mr. Burbridge, I think, offered a video with another. Gremlins, yes, gremlins. So, payment of bills. Don Foster made a motion, seconded by Jim Shepard, to approve payment of the bills totaling $16,213.72. The motion passed. Jim Shepard made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Don Foster. The motion passed and the meeting adjourned at 5:05 p.m.
Motion to accept the GISIT minutes. Tom, second by Derek. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Tom will read the Building and Grounds meeting for Lance.
Thank you. Building and Grounds met February 18th at 6 p.m. Attendance: Lance Kendrick, Tom Lewis, Rita Hoskins, Sheriff Greenwood, Scott Circle. Mark Mountain was absent. The meeting was called to order at 6. Discussion creating a capital project list to be prepared for grant funding opportunities. Annex Foundation. There's others that we have discussed. Tom made a motion to approve bills totaling $11,544.31. Lance seconded the motion. Motion carried. Received an unsolicited quote to fertilizer courthouse, but we'll be putting out for bids. Requests for bids to complete storm damage repairs were posted for 2 weeks. Only one contractor submitted, and that was Darren Workman. Health Department for $36,376. Wooden windows were $10,601.50 versus putting in vinyl windows of $8,101.50. The insurance was $44,454.50. Sheriff's Department, $63,235. Roof replacement. Insurance was $58,407. Tom made a motion to approve bids received by Darren Workman in the amount submitted with vinyl windows and siding. Lance seconded, motion carried. Received weekly payroll for Morton Building Repair. Received one bid for jail floor refinishing. We'll wait until grant funding opportunities or availability. I'm sorry. Sheriff Greenwood followed up about mini split unit with hail damage and elevator. Rich Cronky agreed to purchase parcels 5700401 for $2,000 an acre. Tom made a motion to approve entering into a purchase agreement with Rick Cronky for the amount specified. Kendrick seconded, motion carried. Ted and Tom Swartz agreed to purchase parcels 4801-104, 481105, 4801-103 for a total of 8.53 acres for $2,000 an acre. Tom made a motion to approve entering into a purchase agreement with Swartz for the amount specified. Kendrick seconded, motion carried. Mark Walden requested to purchase parcels 4801912 through 4802006 and agreed to $2,000 an acre. Need to determine how many parcels he wants in total acreage. We'll follow up with Mr. Walden. Motion to adjourn was made by Lewis, seconded by Kendrick. Adjournment was 6:43 p.m.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the Building and Grounds minutes? Derek? Second? Jim?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I think we should probably discuss the sale of the land, how the $2,000 an acre was arrived at. Because it's going to look bad when it gets published in the paper that we sold a bunch of ground at $2,000 an acre. So I think it needs to be explained that this is all flood property from 1993. And it is very limited on what it can ever be used for. It can only be used agricultural, and it's all building sites, so it's not just farm ground. It's got gravel, it's got broken up old asphalt, concrete. It's not pristine ground.
But I've also wondered, several years ago, in my capacity as being on the city council in Pittsfield, this city of Pittsfield wanted to sell a piece of property, but they had to sell it for at least 80% of its value. And I don't know if we have an appraisal, and would that be?
I don't think that there was an appraisal. I think Ms. Lance had talked to those three individuals personally. They then brought it back to building and ground.
I just want to make sure that we're legal in selling.
Walker?
The word legal came up.
He's already moving.
Yeah, woke me up. Legal. No, yeah, this came up 2 years ago. As Mr. Shepherd says, this property had been caught in the 93 flood, and the federal government had to pay a lot of money out, and the federal government said, never again are we going to do that with this property. And FEMA came in, actually took the property paid the landowner at the time, and then that property reverted to the county after the federal government had paid off the landowner. And the federal government put on restrictions on the property from now to the end of time that they will never insure it for federal purposes ever again for any reason, and that there's only two things that will be allowed to be the property to be used for pursuant to these perpetual covenants. It was somewhat strange. You can use it for a park, or you can use it to build a public restroom. So I sometimes wonder if somebody at the federal government had a sense of humor, but if these people want to buy this property, from a marketability standpoint, it's effectively worthless. But if these people want to buy it, it's probably because, I don't know, is it adjacent to what they own already? So-
Yeah, part of it is, and then there was 1 acre that was just.
Yeah, so I mean, to the extent that it's out of our hands, it's doing no use to us, and we can get a little modicum of cash out of it and put it back on the tax rolls, all the better.
And my only other question is closing costs. Did we work out the details on how that would be divided?
I do not know if Lance discussed that with them or not. I would hope that would be the purchaser
Would be bearing that?
would be bearing that, not
Okay.
us.
That, I just wanted to, I didn't see any details on it, and I just thought I'd bring that up.
The next step, if we approve doing this, Lance was going to work with Walker on I've lost the word of what I want to call it.
Purchase agreement?
Purchase agreement, thank you. Thank you, yes.
Okay, so.
So that would be discussed there and spelled out.
We're just throwing it that way. Okay, cool.
Okay. And as you can see from the agenda, we'll have separate motions on each of those. So is there any other discussion on the approval of the minutes? Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Then the first motion would be to accept the roof repair quote for the Sheriff's Department in the amount of $63,235. Do I have a motion on that? Tom? Second? Jim?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. I am questioning myself on this motion 2 there. I'm not sure what I put on the agenda is exactly matching what's in the minutes. What my notes show, and I've got my notes from the meeting, is this would be to accept a roof repair quote for the health department in the amount of $43,777.50. And there was discussion on this. Tom can help me out. We were going with vinyl windows, which were cheaper.
And there was also the vinyl siding.
More economical siding.
More economical siding, which is gonna save us another $700. So,
So, yeah, that would be, then that comes up to that.
So maybe, I guess I'm looking at the insurance, but maybe the insurance was just a little more.
Well, if you add the 36,376 and the 88,101.50, that gets you 44,477.50. But does that include the savings on the vinyl siding?
no, I don't think it does, Jim. So if you take the 700 off of that, that puts it at,
That puts it at the 44,7, or excuse me, 077.50.
the 43,777.50.
Well, I think I'm off by 300 there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's close, but I can't get it to match either.
Yeah, I'm at 44,070, or excuse me, $44,077.50. Oh,
Is that taking 700 off?
that's taking the 700 off because the two total up to 44,777. Or excuse me. Yeah, 44,477. Oh, that takes 700 off. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's 43,777.50. I need to read.
I am okay then.
You are absolutely right, Rita.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then, do I have a motion to accept that health department quote? Tom? Jim, second again?
Yep, I'll second again.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay, then the third motion under Building and Grounds, approve the sale of land parcel 5700401 to Rick Cronky, 1 acre at $2,000 per acre. We have a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Jim, second by Don. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Approve sale of land parcels 48-0-1103, 48-0-1104, and 48-0-1105 to Ted and Tom Swartz, 8.53 acres at $2,000 per acre. Motion by Tom. Second by Derek. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Approve sale of land parcels 480-1912 and 13, 480-2001 through 2008, 480-2101 through 2107. Each parcel is listed separately on the agenda if there's any confusion there. To Mark Walden, be 7.76 acres at $2,000 per acre. Tom, motion, second by Don. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Then I'll let Lance know, Walker, that he can reach out to you and get going on that. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Public safety, Tom, we're back to the minutes. We already did the separate motion.
Yep, thank you. The Public Safety Committee met at 7 PM at the ambulance building. Members present, Tom Lewis, Jim Shepard, Andy Barman, Reed Hoskin. Also present were Casey Kendall, State's Attorney Filbert, Chuck Reed from Chain Breakers, and employees of the Pike County Ambulance Service. Bills in the amount of $74,815.25 were approved on a motion by Shepherd, second by Barrowman. Administrator's report. Casey went over the runner sheet stating that we had 202 911 calls for the month of January. He also explained the maintenance contract with Stryker and what that was for. We still have two personnel out on medical leave, but one should be back next week. Fleet is still in good condition with preventative maintenance being done. The materials for the roof, for the repair of the two buildings at the ambulance service have been delivered and work is to start shortly. They're still having issues with the internet and the Wi-Fi at the ambulance building, and this is being looked into. The EMT class just finished up with 6 passing the class, and one has already taken the National Register and passed it on the first attempt. There will be a first responder class starting the week of March 19th and be held on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. Casey stated he has 15 people interested in this class, and that's from all over the county. New business, it is National Heart Month, and he will be giving away an AED to a local business or organization in Pike County from those who have entered. Casey is in the process of outfitting a mass casualty trailer, which will be able to treat up to 60 patients. Casey stated that the Stryker rep will be at the March committee meeting to discuss a lease to own program that they have. This would include all our power lifts and cots and our cardiac monitors. State's Attorney Filbert and Chuck Reed were there to discuss the ordinance to ban the sale, possession of kratom, phenibut, and H07OH. After discussion, a motion was made by Shepherd, seconded by Barrowman, to send this ordinance to the full board for approval. Motion carried. Public comment, none. A motion by Shepherd to adjourn, seconded by Barrowman. Motion carried, and meeting was adjourned at 7:32 p.m.
Okay, motion to accept the public safety minutes. Derek? Second. Jim? Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Walker, could I just ask one question back on the ordinance that we passed earlier this evening? How does a business that might be engaged in that know that we passed this ordinance?
Me too.
I realize that, but let's say there are people out there not hanging on our every word and deed. It seems like it would be business friendly for our county to at least somehow try to let people know.
Will it be on our website?
I don't control the website.
Can we put it on our website?
There's a place for ordinances on our website.
Right, there's one place we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, I don't know about the process, I don't even know individuals that sell the substances to let everybody know.
I'm looking out the window at one right
Yeah, right on the street.
Right on the corner.
But I'm just saying, I don't know the comprehensive, they don't have to register anything with us to sell that, so we wouldn't know, and I would be concerned about letting one know and not another one.
Yeah.
But I think that you might have a liability, I'd let Walter speak to that, but,
No liability.
so I mean, whatever you guys want to do, you might want to put it in the paper, but we can totally put the ordinance on the website.
If you would do that at least,
Yeah, and I'll talk to the sheriff. I mean, he can send out, little visits to people and say, hey, just so you know. And then the first step, it's not the courtroom, the first step is the ordinance court, which is why it's important that we have ordinance court.
is there any chance it might be covered by the paper and just? That would be appreciated, thank you.
And just to give you an idea, I've already gotten a text message from somebody saying, they banned kratom. So it's already out there.
Okay.
Word of mouth will get around pretty quick.
Finna butt no more.
All right. Were there any other committees? All right, under new business, Gina Showerman has asked that that I read a proclamation into the record for an event that is being planned. So if I can do that real quickly. Pike County Child Care Task Force and Provider Palooza. Whereas access to affordable, reliable, and high-quality child care is essential to the health, safety, and development of children and to the economic vitality of Pike County. And whereas child care providers support working families by enabling parents and caregivers to participate fully in the workforce while fostering early learning and school readiness. And whereas communities across Pike County continue to face challenges related to child care availability, capacity, and workforce sustainability, requiring collaboration and local leadership. And whereas the Pike County Child Care Task Force brings together community partners to strengthen child care systems, support providers, and advance solutions that benefit families, employers, and communities. And whereas the Pike County Child Care Task Force and Provider Palooza recognizes child care professionals, connects providers with resources, and raises awareness of the critical role child care plays in a strong local workforce and economy. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Rita Hoskin, in my capacity as chairman of the Pike County Board, do hereby recognize and commend the Pike County Child Care Task Force and all child care providers for their dedication and service to children and families. And be it further proclaimed that March 10th, 2026, and the Provider Palooza is hereby recognized as a time to support and celebrate the Pike County Child Care Task Force and Provider Palooza, and to reaffirm our commitment to strengthening child care as the foundation of a thriving Pike County. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 23rd day of February 2026. So Jean is here if anybody has questions or discussion on that. And just so I keep my homeschool friends as well, I'm sure the county wants to do all we can to help families who are maintaining home services as well. But appreciate Gina doing that and the chance to bring that forward. Anything else on that? Okay. Old business?
Wait, could I?
Derek?
Well, I guess either one. I just wanted to update that under the Paycom situation, over the weekend I was able to map everything out on Paycom and figure out where it's supposed to go on CIC. So I have a template built that numbers just need to be entered into. So I believe that we are ready to move forward with fixing the 4-year-old problem, but it's still being worked out on who's supposed to enter what numbers. Now, my understanding is that the payroll has to be submitted in a report fashion that coincides with the budgeting software, which I think would be the line items, if they're debits, credits, and so forth, which my template does. So the template is ready to be done into CIC. It's just a matter of who's going to enter the numbers in. But I think we're ready to go and move forward, and I hope we can get it implemented for the March, or the first pay in March, but we'll see how it goes. So.
And you're only talking about the clearing account tax situation, correct? Because we're already entering the budget side.
So it would be the payable, and it's just so all of the debits for all the expenses, we need the cash account and the payable, and then all of the employer responsibility down at the bottom for what the employer is responsible for. So it's basically everything to do with an employer run. Now, if you want to enter it into the template, I will work with the treasurer's office on getting it uploaded to where you don't physically have to enter anything in CIC if you don't want to. But by entering stuff in that template, it has all the line numbers, it has all the account numbers, it has if it's a debit or credit, it basically lines up to the penny on what a Paycom report does and where it's supposed to go. So it's ready, it just needs somebody to agree with entering all the numbers so we can put it in. So, but we can work on that later. And so
I mean, we're putting our budget, our target, that's being done, that's been done. It's just the internal balancing of your accounts.
Well, I think you've agreed that we can't balance anything if everything's not in there. So the expense side has been put in there, but the liabilities haven't. I think the employer side hasn't been, I mean, it just, I can't attest to, I mean, I'm just now in the last 2 weeks starting to realize how things actually work. So I've gotten to the point to where I can say, here's a line in the dirt. From this point on, I believe we're going to do it correct. And then I was going to work with Anna and potentially Liz and CIC, which then goes back to maybe that's what that $750 fee was for, is understanding that part was rolling 1 year to the next. So Anna didn't have to re-enter the years. So I know that there was some stuff going on there. We identified that being a problem and then trying to get that corrected. So that may have been what CIC charges us for at that time. So what has been missing is that there was some cash accounts on the employer side. One of them also with like IMRF. I think you've got a separate checking account with IMRF. So I may need to change some numbers to where the employer IMRF, the employee deduction IMRF goes to a different account. But the template, the spreadsheet would be enter the numbers and then it goes into CIC where it's all supposed to go. So it shouldn't be any manual entry as far as what number does this go to. It's just the dollar amount you're going to have to put in. And so I built the template. I'm going to work with CIC to figure out if it could be a CVS file to where it just uploads into CIC. So once the numbers are put in, nobody should really have to touch it. It just automatically uploads in there. So you're not manually every time somebody touches something, it's a possibility for a mistake. So my thought is if we can just get the dollar amounts entered in and have the spreadsheet dictate what account numbers they go to, it'll be a much easier task. But
Derek, I have to say this, I am so appreciative of all that, thank you. I think this is really validating kind of the past 4 years of what we've been through, at least for me. But also having said that, you run the risk when things are totally automated that when something's not, and if you don't know how to do it, this is where you land. When we can't explain the flow of our finances and we don't know how to do something manually. So while I like automation, I think automation is great, I still think that there needs to be a lot more comprehension on our end about how our finances actually flow.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't.
Appreciate all of your work. I think that it's working for fantastic place, so thank you.
So
What happened to the $5,000 we paid CIC to build the software?
I just did it for free.
Can we get our $5,000 back?
We could ask maybe, but yeah.
Because they haven't done anything.
It's a problem I'm trying to fix and it had to be done. So I wasn't waiting for anybody to do anything. I'm just trying to build it and figure out how to make it work. And I think we are very, very close to getting it corrected. And I said this in finance, there's no reason why we need to switch from Paycom. There's no, I mean, this can work. I don't see any reason why it can't. It's just trying to get it all to click. And so we're very close. It's just a matter of getting the numbers put in and then making sure that however we're doing IMRF, if that's a separate account, then I need to make sure those point to the right directions. And then really just kind of following the flow chart that you did. It's like, okay, here's the debits, here's the credits. It's difficult to think that, okay, a credit is actually a check in a checking account because it's an asset. I mean, there's a lot of complication that kind of goes along with it to get your mind wrapped around. A debit is a deposit. That doesn't make any sense to me either, but that's just the way accounting works. So what I said at the finance meeting is I have to see it, I have to look at it, and I have to almost touch it. And now I can see where we're at and what I think we need to do to get it fixed. So it's extremely close. I feel it's extremely close. So we've got the second payroll that just ran. I'm going to put that in a spreadsheet too, because it's done a little bit different between HSAs. One thing I don't know if we could do is if there's a way to get the employer side of the life insurance added in there. Because then that would just be one more thing, because then that'll be added to the principal and the dental, and then that way it's all coming out of income tax clearing. So you're writing one check to principal for all of it. So there's just a couple more tweakings that I think we can do, but then it should make Catherine's job a little easier. I'm trying to help. So anyway, that's.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I think that this really sums up what we've gone through the past 4 years. We're limited. We can only get to a certain point and we have to stop. And so that's, we got as far as we can go. So I'm excited about the fact that other side's coming up to meet us kind of where we're at and, being able to functionally use it. Because I do believe in the long run, this tracking software, the Paycom will save us a lot of money in the big picture once it's utilized.
So, and while we're on that topic, we'll say it's under new business. And one of the things we've gotten written up on is, if I'm saying that correctly, audit finding, whatever it was, the I-9s and stuff we're keeping track of. I understood Paycom was supposed to have folders for employees.
It does.
So we could be using Paycom to be handling that part of.
So there was an I-9 that we were missing from like 1989 that we couldn't find. And then not to mention the hiring contracts. The county clerk's office has never been the central depository for employees. So like if the sheriff's department hires somebody, they have their own application process, they have their own folder on that person. So we don't get all the documentation that auditors necessarily need. And so when you're trying to go back and pull documents from the 90s and 80s and whatever, they likely don't exist. And so what the software does is it keeps the historical record of all of that. It keeps all the W-4s. It keeps everything in one portal. So employees can access it in perpetuity. So forever, even when they're no longer working with us, they can still get in and access what they need to access. And then we always have it on a record. So it really will streamline all of that for us. And then the big picture is we've had a whole bunch of situations in the past 4 years where employees have come back on this county saying, you're not paying us for X amount of hours, and we've paid them out because we can't prove it because our paycheck showed we worked 1 hour under CIC. So now, when you can get the actual hours worked, and this is only benefiting taxpayers. Taxpayers are gonna be able to know exactly what we're paying in overtime now, exactly what we're paying in salary. It's gonna be this enigma of a line item. It's gonna be a very specific report that's gonna detail all of that for them. And that's why we switched in the first place, because it really is a benefit to our taxpayers and to our employees to have all of it. It's just, I don't think anybody thought that the pushback would be what it was.
And I'll add to that one thing I've been realizing as I've been researching stuff throughout the last year, I didn't realize what, I don't want to say liability, but the buck stops here as far as board and board members. Even if a department head is saying, this is what I'm doing, or for example, like with the websites, the board is still, the governing body still takes that responsibility to make sure the county as a whole is staying in compliance. So therefore, we take the responsibility to make sure a department is staying in compliance too. And so I think that is something to remember, that as there may be pushback and say, well, we don't want to do this or don't want to do that. We as a board are responsible to make sure it is done. And so I just hope that departments can kind of work with us and make sure that we're meeting our fiduciary responsibilities as board members to try and do what's right for the taxpayers and the voters, because we are the voice of the public. The public votes us in as the board to say, this is how we want the county to run, or this is what you need to be. I mean, you don't have 14,000 people here at the meeting, you've got 9. And so they elect the board to try and say, you're kind of our voice. And that's something that I forget sometimes. So I'm trying to do a better job of that. Thank you.
Okay, moving, Andy.
Have we heard anything from Frontier on any movement on them getting fiber into Pike County?
I can check again, but my sense is there wasn't anything more going with that.
They haven't moved forward yet.
6-month reports. County clerk, do you want to?
Yep, so I
Talk-
emailed you guys our 6-month report last month. Fairly standard for us through December, or through November 30th. So the total deposit in the general fund was $26,062.50, as it came to other revenue. We also, this time, are trying something different to outline how the revenue stamps and e-recording work. So we included a second sheet to kind of compare that for you from December 24th through May 25, and then June through November. So you can kind of see between e-recording and revenue stamps what we brought in. The total e-recording for the 6 months was $63,479.50, and the total revenue stamps was $29,958.25.
Any questions for Natalie on that? I don't know that we have to do a motion to accept them, but I think it's been tradition that we have.
I think you have to, the statute says we have to give them to you.
But it doesn't say anything about us, really.
But I think we have to enter them into the permanent record.
Yeah,
So, so I think in the past, there's just been a motion to put them on file.
Okay.
I've got Bryce, I don't have the treasurers.
Bryce, do you, did,
Right, we have Bryce's.
Yeah.
I didn't have.
it's here, do you, I'm just giving you the chance to say something if you want to, but you don't have to.
No, it's self-explanatory, just the monies that come in, monies that come out. It's not necessarily a balancing of a checkbook, it's just a life. You see the monies that come in, somebody's, November, for example, there are scheduled accountabilities. Those numbers are a lot higher than November disbursements because of that. I've explained that before. But some money comes in, sits in bond, and it just goes out another month. So it's not this isn't a balancing. Those numbers aren't always the same. So check the balances in the office are.
Okay. Any questions for Bryce before we move to the treasurers? And I'll just remind people, we had highways at an earlier meeting. And already took it.
Is it? Well,
Scott, you want to go ahead?
7 million total cash.
I just get the accounts payable, income tax clearing account. You have to deduct that amount
In the
off.
bank.
No.
If this is a bank statement, that's gotta be in the bank. They can't give us a statement without that being in the bank.
This is a report. This is a CIC financial report.
Can you guys use the mic because we're not able to pick this up?
That includes the income tax clearing account, and payroll's not touched it for 4.5 years. You're aware of that. You've been involved in all of it all along.
Okay, I've asked this before, but we do get interest on almost all these accounts, right?
Get interest on every one of them.
But it shows on the report 0 on all of them.
Well, that just doesn't show up on this, but every bank account has interest.
Okay. And this doesn't include, does this include the CDs held in E ETSB and,
No, it does not.
okay? So obviously I'm voting no. But,
It doesn't include any of the CDs in it.
So it doesn't tell
I
me
mean, I
what's.
can give you a report from the CDs that we currently have.
Okay, but I mean, if it's not actually my fund balances, because it doesn't include the CDs, it doesn't tell me what the interest is, and it reports one account is $28,300,000. So, again, I can't accept it.
That's up to you.
I know. And hopefully Derek's template corrects that issue.
Scott, do you know if any journal entries up to the end of 2022 have been entered into the income tax clearing checking account? I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to need to help with as far as reconciling, because I remember seeing like an $8 million journal something or other. And so do you believe that the bank account is reconciled in CIC up through the end of 2022 based off of our audits
For that account.
for that account?
Yes, to
Okay.
the audit.
So whatever balance they had at the end of 2022 should have been, and somebody has reconciled to say, it's reconciled to the end of November of 2022. So
Yes.
then December 1st of 2023 on is what we're going to have to try and figure out. All right. Okay.
Are you sure? I mean, if that journal entry had been made between June 30th and November 30th, wouldn't that account not have increased by $3 million? That adjustment would have taken it back down?
That journal entry won't go in until after your audit's approved, which you just did it. There'll be adjustments made, audit adjustments.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that some of those were part of the 878 adjustments they sent to your office before they did the audit.
Can you have Dawn scan in the bank statements
Yeah.
and then send them over? I'll
Yep.
start looking at them and figure out. Okay.
And I guess, so who do you feel should be entering this data to fix that account?
To fix it,
Yeah.
it's still trying to be figured out here. I think the email that we sent out, as far as the duties and functions of the county clerk's office, I think it's pretty clear, the AG opinion,
As far as,
that all payroll and such is imported by the clerk or their designee.
I will agree that, and I only took one.
And this all
course.
ties together.
I only took one course in college for law. I did fairly well, but I only took one course. But all I see is that she is the keeper of the records, not that she's responsible for the accounting. I do read in statute multiple times that you are responsible for providing this board with accurate accounting. And you have not done that for 4.5 years. And that is statutorily defined.
Yeah.
I can cite 55 ILCS 5/6, 1006, 55 ILCS 5/3, 10,006, Part E. I can talk about 55 ILCS 5/3, 10,018. Now, who does the recording? This argument has gone on forever.
Yeah.
And it's crippled this county. We lost auditors. We spent
They're
too much
only
time
as
on
accurate,
auditors.
they're only as accurate as the information is being programmed into it.
Yes, and you refused to do it. She refused to do it, and that's my problem.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's your responsibility. Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to convince you of that, so you can go on.
Are there any other questions about the report or issues? We have a motion to accept the 3 department reports. Derek, do I have a second? Don? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Is that Tom and Jim, nay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
It's 3-2. Okay, then chairman's remarks. Just a few things. I think some of you saw Greg Wyatt here just before the meeting. He needs us to have another meeting about a solar issue prior to the March meeting at 6 o'clock. And I think he gave you the materials for that. As far as you know, is everyone available to be there at that?
No.
And then, as you'll recall, we have a proposed interagency agreement with the city of Pittsfield about zoning within 1.5 miles of their boundaries. Walker's been working with Keisha Morris on that. Originally, we were going to have it here tonight. I asked Keisha if we could move it back because of all the audit stuff, so they are coming next meeting. And then we can discuss this next time, but when I was working with the Ministerial Alliance, it triggered for me that our May meeting is on Memorial Day itself. As I understand the Open Meetings Act, we can have a meeting on a holiday, but as long as it's a regularly posted meeting, which this would be. But we could also move this one, the date's the 25th, we might consider moving it to the 26th. So if you want to think about that, but I'd rather wait until next time when we've got more of our members here to determine when we can have quorum on that. Okay, Natalie, do you want to present the?
Were you going to mention the Ashman suit?
Oh, Walker, if you want to.
Take a second. I tried to get, as many of you noticed, but if you didn't hear, last Wednesday on February 18th, we had a hearing in front of Judge Birch right here on Ms. Hashman's lawsuit against the county board, myself, Mr. Circle, and Ms. Roseberry. And after argument on our motion to dismiss, Judge Birch granted that in its entirety and dismissed her entire suit with prejudice. So, just so you know.
Okay, thanks, Walker. Natalie, do you want to present the mileage and per diem and?
Building and Grounds Committee, $11,544.31. Public Safety Committee, $74,815.25. GIS, $16,213.72. Finance Committee, $144,171.54. Special Funds at $19,888.52 for a total of $290,154.78. Mileage and per diem, Labor Committee on 12/22, there's an asterisk there because that notates a different mileage rate. All members were present. 2 Rivers on 1/8, Don Costa was present. Labor 116, Derek Ross, Rita Costa were present. County Board Meeting 126, Mark Mountain was absent. IACBM on 130, Derek Ross. TRCC on 212, Derek Ross. GIS 217, Omnibus were present. Highway 218, Rita Hoskins was absent. Finance 218, Omnibus were present. Building Grounds 218, Mark Mountain was absent. Public Safety 218, all members were present, the monthly board pay is $600 for a total of $2,572.27.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept? Tom? Second? Derek? Any discussion?
I've got one.
Don?
I failed to mention it on the, I failed to mention it when I read off the highway minutes. It's showing Rita as being absent. She was actually there just outside the building on a conference call. I just wanted to make note that she tried to be there, but she was taking care of other business. Thank you.
But that shouldn't change this. I didn't, and I will note, the meeting only lasted 4 minutes, so
Yeah.
if you talked a little bit longer, I would have been there. That's probably a new record. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay. Comments from the press and visitors? Jim?
I do. At the finance meeting, you brought up some bills. You had 3 or 4 bills in a folder, and it was discussed, and one of them was like from August, and one of them was from July, and they didn't really make a decision on what to do with them. And Derek said it was okay for you to send a letter. These were past due, kicking it down the road thing. Did you actually decide not to pay those, or to pay those? And that wasn't in the meeting, the minutes, that part of it wasn't in the minutes. So I think we ought to know if we're not paying bills. We ought to know.
They weren't, I didn't realize they weren't in the minutes, but as I recall, the committee did decide not to pay them. They were from last year. One was the CEO program, $1,000. The other was, recreation and conservation?
RC&D.
RC&D, yes. They were from last summer.
Yeah, you said August and July,
Yeah.
I was there, I was confused on.
And the reason,
Not very much.
right, the reason I was doing a letter was to let them know that, obviously, we didn't pay them last year when the bills came in, and that we wouldn't be paying them because of our budget
Need a
deficit.
clarification, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jim?
I had just had a question, Mr. Shepherd, Jim. That extension here, which fiscal year did that affect?
That was the 22. It was tax extension, payable in 22.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anything else?
Is it for public?
Public, yes.
Okay. Do you guys have any updates on the labor agreements, where we're at with that? Union contracts?
We, as you could tell from the per diem report, we've been meeting with the union representatives for the ambulance. We have a tentative agreement, and the next steps are for them to talk with their membership and consider whether they'll ratify that or not. We are just beginning talks with the sheriffs. Our attorney and their representative have been talking, but we're just at the stage where we're looking at proposal there. Yeah.
To that point, do you know where we are in the budget for the expenses that were set aside, or money set aside for this department?
We were just looking at that today. Apparently, there was a glitch where the bills from the outside legal counsel, Giffen Winning, I guess were being blocked by the email system or going into a spam folder or something at the clerk's office. So unfortunately, we just realized today we've got bills dating back to December that we didn't realize we had. So we're looking at paying those. And I think Derek and Natalie have been emailing about that today. Was it about $14,000, I think, so far? Derek, did you have anything to say on that, or?
No, the clerk and I were discussing that earlier. We had set aside and budgeted $15,000 for outside counsel. Negotiations and conversations are taking longer than anticipated, I guess. And so we're going to basically be past that like the next week or so 15,000 was probably on the low side. And so other past negotiations have been paid out of contingency. So we're going to be short. And I hope that the FOP contract doesn't take as long, but unfortunately, I don't have a lot of happy thoughts that that will be the case. So, but back to your question is we've already used almost the whole 15,000 that we budgeted for legal expenses, and I assume that it's probably going to at least be that, if not more, to finish up the FOP. So.
Is there a possibility that we could then, it's maybe that it's already passed, that we could ask our state's attorney to represent us on the other one and save us money going forward, or is that, I don't know how that works, costing that out, like,
I think we're too far down the road on that to make that kind of a change now. Because I just think that wouldn't be seen as very good faith on our part at this point. And it's true we're over the 15,000, but as far as I know, Jim, please, or Andy, if you remember something differently, the past negotiations appeared to have been paid out of contingency, so that it was, the 15,000 wasn't based on anything. There was not a previous budget with the prior outside legal folks that did this.
Yeah, I think this,
over 8,000. Brett Garkey's fees for 23, last time last time it was ran through, right around 8,000 for both. We've done both.
I wasn't clear from the bills, though, that what we found were the total.
that
Well,
probably,
CAC to see what we paid him.
Okay.
that probably included some other stuff, because, I mean,
There were 2 invoices.
okay,
So,
because
So
we had 2 meetings, one was 57 minutes for the FOP contract, and I think we had maybe 4 hours total in the ambulance. Now, Brett's travel time would have been included on both those, but
what's the hourly rate we're paying now?
I don't have that with me. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
And about what level of the attorney, the one I think that is coming is 25 an hour.
I think you're right on that. That's the highest one.
Now, we were paying Mr. Barkey 165.
I don't know that Natalie said she couldn't
Yeah,
find.
165, he verified it for us.
Okay.
When you asked.
You should have got an email on the bills for labor.
And then that, we haven't had anything on mileage yet from her. Just phone calls.
so to that end, hopefully we'll have a closed session to discuss the ambulance contract next month.
That's our current plan, but I don't want to get ahead of the ambulance union. It depends on what they do. But she has that date, and she's planning to be here with us if the ambulance is ready.
And if it's ready, we'll have a copy beforehand. I'm assuming, since it's
Yeah.
not a short document.
So, okay, anything else? Public comments?
Was there any financial analysis done for, turning down, like, with the dollar general coming closer now? Like, did we, like, look at the money to see, like, what the projections were and all that?
There was no data like that available that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know that that information was available.
That's why.
Well, we were not voting on a Dollar General proposal. What we were voting on was I say we, what the board would have voted on. I didn't actually vote on it. Their question was what the zoning for the land would be.
What we didn't allow was a change in the zoning from farm or from ag to business. And in my opinion, that the location that they wanted to put it wasn't safe.
No, it
I'm not against Dollar General, but not there. I don't,
Okay, well, I was thinking about from the taxpayer standpoint,
yeah.
you're raising taxes, and when I'm pulling the property taxes from the other Dollar Generals, but I don't care if it's Dollar General, I'm talking any business. We're shutting that down from happening, and we're raising taxes on taxpayers.
And there would have,
That would have been.
I would think that there would,
Dollar General, for example, was
yeah.
$50,000 a year almost.
I would think there would have been property inside in the village limits of Pleasant Hill that would have been already zoned business that would have been favorable or more favorable than putting it where they had proposed or where they wanted the zoning change made. Yeah, our vote was on
Was
the
location, not-
change in zoning. That's the only thing our vote was. We didn't vote yes or no on whether a Dollar General could go in there. We voted that we wouldn't change the zoning.
Yeah.
When Jim mentioned earlier that you've had problems the last 4.5 years with getting the correct numbers in the system, were you talking payroll?
Payroll.
So who is responsible for the payroll for the whole county, or does every department do their own, or how does that work?
Each department keeps track of their employees' hours and submits it to the county clerk for payroll processing.
Okay, so if the county clerk does payroll for the county, why is that not all on the county clerk to have all those numbers in?
So I can answer that. We put the numbers in, so if let's say that the sheriff's department has $100 in salaries, that comes to us. We put that in the financial system where it hits the line item and it deducts that $100. What we're talking about is the old system did what were called automatic vouchering. And because we had the same system at one time, it would automatically do your debits and credits, which are flip-flopped. Derek kind of touched on that. And it would self-balance these accounts. So it would alleviate you from having to write that check in your checkbook. All you had to do was write the check out the door, and it would do all of that behind the scenes for you. When we switched, the goal was to get an upload. The problem was the data wasn't clear to get an upload, so we were struggling with that because of crossing funds. So it had to be manual. So from our end, if we weren't entering payroll, all of your budget sections would show 0. It would show that we didn't spend anything for salaries or unit A, unit B. All of that was put in. It was that internal balancing mechanism that cleared out your clearing and cash accounts. And so going back to the statute, originally, I am not allowed to do anything with cash. That is not in the county clerk's statutory purview. The Attorney General's office is very clear about that, and that's why I can't go in and make those adjustments. It's not because we don't want to help out, it's because I am not allowed to do that. Because it was done automatically, that was done, it takes that person out of the element. So if you look at statute, the county clerk is responsible for providing an accurate payroll report to the treasurer's office. We give them that every payroll. They have a hand report that says how much payroll is, how much IMRF is. After that, it's entirely up to the treasury department to make sure that all of that is done. We just happen to have a system prior that did it for us automatically, and then when you switch, it doesn't do it for you automatically, it still has to get done. So
is the spreadsheet, Derek, that you're working on, is that going to fix that? Or no?
Yeah, well, again, it's still going to have to be entered in. And back to the statute, I don't know that it says anything in there about, well, here's your report, figure out how to enter it. So what I'm doing is that, for example, the clerk's office should be able to say, here's corner salary, here's this, here's that. And then the spreadsheet should be then putting the information in that says, and here's what needs to be credited for the liabilities and so forth. So I believe the clerk can go ahead and continue entering what they've been entering, and then the spreadsheet should handle the treasurer's side that should have been happening that wasn't happening. So it's just a matter of There were some extra steps that could have been taken to enter stuff. That hadn't been done. It's kind of splitting hairs on who was supposed to do whatever. But my goal is to have it all figured out in the next 30 days and then move on.
And to shine light on that a little bit, if you go back to an audit report from, I think, 2015 through 16, 17, they talk about segregation of duties, which is really important. In government, we operate differently than the private sector, and that's why it's critical that you stay in your lane. And so when the county clerk is responsible to provide a statement of all claims against the county, that precludes us from balancing your cash. Why? Because I can't pay your bill and balance your cash out, right? You don't want the same person touching that. So when you start talking cash accounts and clearing accounts, I'm putting your liability into a financial system, so that's spitting out that liability. I can't also balance your cash because now I'm doing both transactions, and that's not your segregation of duties. So it's not like we dug our heels and saying nobody wants to help out. It's the fact that would have been an audit finding, and it would have opened us up to some significant risks by doing so, and it was highly guarded against.
So now that Derek, it appears anyway, I don't want to get too overly optimistic, but it appears he's found another way to enter what you were previously doing in CIC. Are you willing to use what he's got then?
Oh, it won't affect that. It won't do anything with us. We won't be balancing any of that. We're still entering our stuff. Again, I can't go to that other side of cash.
So is that a yes or no?
Yeah, I can't balance cash. So yes, we'll put in whatever we have to put in the debits. Like, we're going to continue to hit those line items like we've always hit them. And if the spreadsheets how we have to, how they want to do it, that's great. Yeah, we'll put everything in there. We can't get to where we're balancing cash.
I got it. Creates a CSV file for Adams County. It's imported into the system. Exactly the same thing that CIC did.
Mm-hmm. They have
got an email.
They have good data. they have a good GL. Yeah.
That states that they created a CSV file.
Yeah, and Scott, I agree with you, and I think that's what we wanted to begin with, and that's what everybody wants, is it to do it for us. But just because the system doesn't do it for us, doesn't mean we can stop doing it. I think that's the big problem, is that's what was happening, is it just wasn't being done. So while we all wanted something to upload, the kicker is, we've talked about this at length, we cross funds over here in payroll. That's why you can't get a clean file, because we're pulling from different funds for one paycheck. So until we get our GL cleaned up and how we want to upload it, we're never going to have a clean upload. And that's why when Liz emails us back and says your funds don't balance, they're not going to, because we cross those funds. So we have to clean those accounts up too. I'm confident we can do those, but I think the key is to start getting some of your cash accounts balanced going forward, and then we can start diving into the GL.
Then why is it that you worked with them for 3 years and then all of a sudden it gets dumped off the treasurer's office?
That's not accurate.
You worked with them forever. You worked with Josh.
It does, let me just cut in, it does seem that in hindsight, it would have been better if you had worked this out in advance before you switched to Paycom and made sure that all the bases were covered. I mean, when you consider what this has cost the county by not having these audits and the grant issues and everything, this is discussion for another time. I think we need to look at a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Tom, second. Derek, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any nay? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 9:18
Get mine too,
p.m.
Don, please.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to go ahead and down.
One of these has got to go somewhere. I'll just take it down here. You gonna take it down there? Okay. I'll put this one here.
Walker didn't say anything about the microphones or He set all that up.
Hey, do you need this one sealed? Okay, I heard a seal, and I was like, oh, I didn't hear it.